user-friendly copy that we would print out for you that doesn't even have a credit score. So it's going to have the company names and their contact info.
Okay.
But again, if you don't feel comfortable, I already have this pulled up.
No, that's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. It's okay. I'm good. Especially if we can, if it's, if it's a quick and dirty way to do it. I think that's absolutely fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not showing your client case. I have this fake one up, and then I would just move over to the credit report.
Great. That's awesome. We had a total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 5 people registered besides us.
Okay.
Already recording to the computer just so I don't forget to do that, but we'll edit the video to start at the appropriate time later. And then
Okay.
Live stream to Facebook is queued up, so that's ready to start whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. And then we'll do post it to YouTube later. Is that what we'll do?
Yeah, I'll post on YouTube later because the only YouTube account that I have admin access to is like my Dallas Anita YouTube account.
So I should probably get you access to the NITA account.
I mean, I've probably got the password and stuff for it, but I don't have that all set up.
That's
So.
fine. I am good with that.
So Andrea, too, just to clarify, when we are going over like goals, do you want me to like ask you what your goals are, and we can kind of create a mock?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So you can share what your true goals are, or you can make something up.
I think what I can do is talk about what kind of goals I've had and also where I'm going, because I feel, especially since you got my financial report from 2020, was that the beginning of 2020 when I did that?
Yep.
Well, that explains why I haven't gone back. I mean, like all hell broke loose. Yeah, but I mean, since then I've improved my score. I've reduced my debt. Like I've done a lot of things.
So eventually when you meet with Kaz, because you will, right?
I will.
then she can pull a new credit report for you, and then that way you can get the credit, and she can get the credit as your counselor for the improvements that are.
Then I should do that. And just so you know, Audriana, Kaz and I go way back. Her mom is a friend of mine, and so I've noticed that she was like
she's such a sweet person.
She's fantastic. Yeah, your bio's perfect. That's great. Dallas, are we recording right now?
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop talking. I'll stop brainstorming.
But it's not live to Facebook until you.
Okay. Great.
No, it's just recording to my computer so that I don't.
So you can edit that out. That's good to know. Hi, Alexis. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today. We've got 3 or 4 more people coming, so we're just going to hang out a couple minutes and see who else comes. But we won't wait too long because we want to be considerate of everyone's time. Well, we are having some really gorgeous weather here today, and
Right.
I think we'll continue to have gorgeous weather through the weekend, and I think we deserve it.
Next week looks pretty good too,
Yeah,
that I am
people
glad about today. I thought I'd have to put like long pants and a sweater on for my son, but we didn't have to do that.
People always talk about how amazing summer is. I'm like, I'm kind of an autumn girl myself. I prefer maybe something just a little not so hot and humid.
I love fall time. I love, fall apparel and shopping and colors. What I just don't like is here in Syracuse, it's so short. So I feel like when people are rushing fall, you're rushing what's coming after that. And you don't need to do that.
Yeah. And I'm not a big pumpkin spice latte person. So
Apple cider over here.
apple cider is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an authentic beverage. So. All righty, I am going to start sharing the screen, and we'll just give it one more minute.
Okay. I think I will say for anyone who is already here, if you like come in with already having questions in mind, you can enter those in the chat so we can keep them in mind as we go through. If there's anything we can answer on the spot.
It's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Can I go and start the Facebook stream?
Yeah, why don't you? That sounds terrific, Dallas. Thank you so much. Great. Okay, so we will get started and welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm sure some more people will join us. We are live streaming this on Facebook, and we're recording the meeting. It will be posted on YouTube afterwards as well. So today we are talking about financial challenges and really letting people know they're not alone. The Syracuse Financial Empowerment Centers have been designed to provide free financial counseling to Syracuse City residents. People are learning about these. I think it can be a little intimidating to go into an appointment like this. So today's presentation is really just about demystifying that experience, encouraging people to make their appointment and start to take a better hold of their own financial lives. We have Audriana Ortega here. She's a financial counselor from the Syracuse Financial Empowerment Centers. I'll give her a full introduction in a couple of moments. My name is Andrea Wandersee. I'm the executive director of NEDA, the Northeast Holly Development Association. We are a member of the Onondaga County Cash Coalition, and this is a joint project with the Onondaga County Cash Coalition. A couple of housekeeping details. If you have questions or comments, you're welcome to use the chat room or the Facebook chat. My colleague Dallas Bryson's here keeping an eye on those. Most people will be muted. You're welcome to have your video on if that helps you stay engaged, or if that feels more comfortable for you during the program. And there will definitely be time for Q&A at the end of the workshop. So the Onondaga County Cash Coalition, it's a really terrific group of local organizations that are dedicated to promoting financial stability and asset building opportunities for low and moderate income families throughout Onondaga County. CASH stands for Creating Assets, Savings, and Hope. And you can see the list of logos down below, but the United Way is one of the foundation organizations who helps keep us on track. Obviously the Syracuse Financial Empowerment Center, but we also provide the VITA tax prep service during tax season, so keep that in mind. So Audriana, thank you so much for being here today. Audriana Ortega grew up in between the Lower East Side and Harlem in New York City, and she came to Syracuse in 2011. She pursued a degree in business management, and she's been a Financial Empowerment Center counselor since October 2020. She sees clients from all walks of life, but she's placed at the Department of Social Services. And so a lot of her caseload is made up from referrals from the Department of Social Services. Prior to this role, she worked at ACMG Federal Credit Union. Fun fact, that's my credit union. I love it. As a financial relationship specialist, where she opened accounts, processed loans, and designed and hosted financial education workshops. Before that, she spent several years as an insurance rep, where she gained the foundation for her financial background and discovered her passion for helping people with their personal finances, which I think is a terrific mission. So, Audriana, I'm going to hand things over to you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for that, Andrea. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very happy to come and talk about the FEC and kind of run through the process of what your first session would look like. I'm actually a client myself, and when I scheduled with my counselor, Tom, I was very curious about how the system worked and what the actual process was going to be like, because I'd heard so many good things. So here at the Financial Empowerment Center, as stated in the slide, we want you to feel in control of your financial life. So there are a couple of steps that we go through, including looking over your personal finances, like your income and expenses, and creating really a customized plan for you to show you, based on your unique numbers, how to meet your goals and have control over that. So a lot of people sometimes tend to be scared or turned off by words like budget, thinking it's a restrictive thing, but really we want to put the power over your money back into your hands. You earn it, you work hard for it, and we really just want to help you identify what your goals are and figure out the steps that should be taken for you to meet those goals. So I do want to stress that it is totally confidential and it is 100% a judgment-free zone.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because for me, and I think you and I talked about this the other day, working on financial issues is really personal, and people get really emotional about it.
Great.
And it stirs up all sorts of stuff about relationships and priorities and values. And I do love the confidential nature. I love the fact that it's a judgment-free zone and that you kind of focus on what the person who you're working with really wants and needs.
Exactly.
And I'm also a client, so.
Exactly. So we can definitely vouch for the system. So just a little bit of a rundown of the history from the Syracuse Financial Empowerment Center. So the Financial Empowerment Center is kind of a broader initiative that, if you're familiar, you've already heard all of this, but we have several different locations throughout the country. So the Syracuse Financial Empowerment Center just launched 2 years ago, July 2019. And we've actually been able to meet some really impressive milestones since then. So here's some of our numbers. We have had 868 unique first-time clients and over 2,700 sessions. So we know a lot of those clients are coming back, meaning they are seeing the value, of working with a counselor. And then from those sessions, we've had over 1,800 outcomes. And when we talk about outcomes, we're talking about results mostly in credit, on the credit side, as well as the savings side. So you can see from this little graphic, I know these numbers are really hard even for me to read, but we can see the bulk of these results have come from credit impact. So reducing delinquent accounts, reducing different types of debt. And also, when you look at these purple areas, you can see that a lot of those results had to do with also saving money. So there are also like smaller steps in between that we are able to help clients with, such as opening new accounts if you wanted to separate your checking and savings. I know Andrea actually mentioned to me something that worked for her in that nature as well. So really just a lot of different things. We definitely like to focus on the debt reduction and the increased savings. But there are all types of things in between, anything from, I've been helping a lot of clients lately, making sure they apply for the emergency broadband benefit, for example, where you can save up to $50 on your Spectrum bill. So lots of different things.
Awesome.
So like I mentioned, we like to focus on our savings increased and debt reduced. So the total savings we've had increased to date is, just over $1 million. And then when it comes to our total debt reduced, we have surpassed the $2 million mark. So I find that really impressive and amazing. And if you remember from the first slide, we just launched in July of 2019. So to put things in perspective a little bit, I know these past 2 years have been kind of a whirlwind and a blur all at once, but July 2019, we launched. So we had about a good 5 or 6 months before lockdowns began in, February, March 2020. So most of these results have really been accomplished during the pandemic. So I think that is, worth pointing out. So we have a really strong team, and also our clients have done an amazing job with actually achieving these results.
When you put it that way, that's astounding. It's
Right.
really good for them. Yeah.
All right, so here is another graphic that is not so great to read on the eyes, but I just wanted to demonstrate kind of the range of clientele that we serve. So here's a graph of our clients by age, and you can see we have at least one client who's between 18 and 20, and then most of our clients are going to fall between 21 to 45, and then we have still over 100 clients who are between like 45, 55 and up. So what I really wanted to point out is that there are no stipulations to becoming a client other than you just have got to be 18 and up. So we are, very open to everyone. Everyone can qualify for free financial counseling.
As long as you live in the city of Syracuse.
Well, we have actually, I am placed at Department of Social Services, right? So when that started, we pretty much have been able to expand through the county. So you don't even have to be a city resident anymore.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Yes. So we're able to see, anybody throughout Onondaga County pretty much, especially if you are, close within the suburbs, close to the city. So so this one is just another one where I wanted to show the range of who we're able to serve. So you can see we have helped people with income anywhere from $0, no income, to over 85K a year. So another thing is you don't necessarily have to have earned income. You could be receiving retirement, Social Security, all different types of income, and there is no minimum or maximum income requirement to become a client. Again, the only thing is you've got to be at least 18 years old to consent to financial counseling. So now we can get into the actual technical side of what to expect when you have scheduled your first session. So, and I apologize if Andrea mentioned the good weather and it's very sunny and I've got this brightness on my face, but so what should I bring? After your first session has been scheduled, you will receive from us a monthly expense form. So this is just going to be a sheet that has listed hopefully every category you can think of, so we aren't missing anything, where you just fill it out and put in the numbers of what you spend in each category. If you don't have access to a printer, you could easily just write it down on a piece of paper and we can review that when we meet. Then we would want to be able to see your pay stubs or benefit statements, depending on what your source is. Those can be helpful because I find a lot of times, or sometimes people don't know exactly what they earn, especially if you've got direct deposit set up. You just kind of are used to it going through and don't know the breakdown of where your different deductions and things are going. So it could be helpful to know that. Make sure we aren't missing anything, like if you have a 401k loan or our retirement plan, we would want to take all of that into consideration. Bank statements are going to help us in a number of ways. So you are filling out that expense form and you find that you have no idea what you spend in shopping or eating out or groceries, then we would want to refer to your bank statements, assuming you use your debit card for your purchases. So that way we can accurate number of what your spending is like. It doesn't do us any good to come up with a spending plan or any types of next steps without having numbers in there. And then any outstanding bills. So those are definitely going to come in handy. Let's say you have a NIMO bill, or you are past due on your rent or anything of that nature. Those are things that we're going to consider pretty urgent, and we're going to want to address those as soon as possible. Because again, it's as much sense to like go over your credit report and start coming up with a plan to address collections that show up there that are 3 years old, for example, when you have bills due now that are falling behind and you're being charged late fees on, or you're at risk of those actually hitting your report and doing more damage. And then any other documentation that if you're in a financial situation you're confused about and you just need advice, or you may need a referral somewhere. If you are facing foreclosure or eviction, which that's a major thing we're trying to prepare to help a lot of our clients with now, considering our circumstances. Any documentation you've received regarding those things, for example, would be helpful for us to be able to review with you. And then also going back to the bank statements for a second, that would be really helpful for us to actually verify from day one, for example, how much money you have saved in your savings account. And then let's say we met consistently for 4 months and now you've got $1,000 more, for example. We would be able to verify the difference, and that allows us to say, over the past 2 years, our clients have over $1 million, and that's not just something we're saying, that has been verified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just remember while we were talking that monthly expense form can be a little daunting sometimes. So people should do their best with it, but
Right.
don't let that stop you from coming to an appointment. Right.
And I would say that's actually true for any of these documents. Having these available is definitely going to allow us to make the best use of our time together for our first session. But you shouldn't feel don't scary way. If you don't have access to any of these, get your hands on them in time for our appointment, you are absolutely welcome to come, and hopefully you see and go through the different steps that we would still be able to get quite a bit done during a session without any of these.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So just depending if we were meeting in person or virtually, a lot of our appointments are still virtual, but it's depending now on the state of things that still change kind of daily, and also what your preference and accessibility is. But if we were meeting in person, we'd go over your consent form, which one of them, there's two. One is a client service agreement that's just going to outline the agreement, the relationship that we are agreeing to. And it's going to state for example, where I mentioned that this is a total confidential service, right? So it's for both of our protection and to make sure we're on the same page. The second form you'll sign is a credit report authorization. That way you give us consent to do a soft pull of your credit report, meaning it is not impacting your credit score at all, and to be able to review that with you. Then if we weren't meeting in person and we were meeting virtually, you would receive those via email prior to our appointment and hopefully have those before we met. But if there were any technical difficulties, I usually just help my clients through that when we do get to meet. And of course, if you didn't feel comfortable signing, you go through each bullet point one by one. I'm always happy to do that if there's something you didn't understand or agree with. So then when we do meet, we will start with 2 assessments, financial health assessment, which is really just pretty general questions about your overall financial situation, what your experiences have been with financial services. And then there's COVID, which is very specific to the past 2 years, and how you may have been impacted by COVID. For example, if you had any loss of income, if you received your stimulus checks. And then we would be able to move on into one of my favorite parts, which is going to be discussing your goals and any pressing needs you have. And from there, we step into the money tracker, which is where we're going to use that expense sheet that you filled out. And we are going to take a little of a deeper look, make sure the numbers are accurate, see how much money, take a look at what your cash flow looks like. So are you living paycheck to paycheck? Are you, do you have extra money at the end of the month or the pay cycle could somewhere to help you meet those goals? Or are you short at the end of the month and how can you adjust that? And then we would go over your credit report and we would see if you've got any credit situations that need to be addressed. And this is the first session, so it's just very informational. We're getting to know each other. We're going over a lot of information. So after pulling the credit report, we're able to kind of see where we stand now and start to come up with a plan that will start to put into effect between the end of that session and the next time, and then of course going forward. And of course, before I let you go, I'm gonna try to hook you in and make sure that we schedule our next session to make sure that we're keeping the momentum going. I know that life can get very hectic, so it's always best to schedule on the spot. I want to say most of our clients are going to schedule like on a monthly basis by default, sometimes even every other month. But I can't really speak as much for the other counselors. I know for me specifically, I have been meeting with a lot of my clients either on a bi-weekly or even a weekly basis, which makes me really excited that the clients are eager to meet again after that first session and really get the ball rolling when it comes to the steps that we've identified. And I know the other counselors are totally open to meeting as often as possible too. It's just depends on what everybody's calendars looks like. Sometimes things have to be scheduled a little further out, but we definitely do our best to meet everybody's needs. And the very first session again is very full of information, so it's normally 60 to 90 minutes. So when it comes to like these follow-up sessions, they may not be anywhere near that. It might be a 30-minute session, or if you wanted to focus on this one thing, like let's sit down and call this collection agency together, it really be a 15-minute session. So it really is tailored to you, what you have going on, and how we can make the most out of your time.
Awesome.
square.
Awesome. So why don't we, I stop the PowerPoint. Do you want to pull up your screen and show us what some of these screens look like? We thought we'd do a little bit of a mock meeting. I think I'm going to be a bit of a guinea pig. I might not always tell the truth, but we'll do sort of a bit of a sample meeting here.
Maybe another time we can do like 2 truths and a lie and see what's Andrea's life.
I'll give it some thought.
So this information that we'll find here is totally false and irrelevant, based on just, mock clients. But this is what you'll see if meeting with me virtually. And if we were in person, I would turn my screen over to show you, so you're not just staring at me. Of course, we just have our basic contact information. We definitely need to be able to get in touch with you to follow up, remind you of appointments. You would choose your preferred method of contact is, for us to reach you, and also for like appointment reminders. Then we'll have demographics, and referral info. So normally you would see here if you were referred by CSS or home headquarters or NEA. And then here we have our consent forms. So like I said, we can text or email them to you if you weren't in person, like sign a physical copy. So then we get into financial health, where we have our 2 assessments. They're not necessarily too long. You can see some of the questions here with random information and numbers.
So that's where they're asking what your income is, if you have kids, if you're married.
Like, are
Do they
you
ask if you rent or own your own home and that kind of thing?
Yes, they're gonna ask if you are renting or housing situations. So do you rent or own, or do you live with family, or do you prefer not to answer? All this, is up to your discretion for what you want to answer. And it's confidential again. Your income, employer, and then we want to know about your savings and debt and how you rank yourself with those things. And then the COVID assessment is really, I don't know, that one's not going to come up, but it's really straightforward, to the point.
Like, did you lose your job during COVID, or did you lose income during COVID?
Right. If you were self-employed, did you lose business?
Does it ask like if you had health problems and new medical bills? Is that
Exactly.
one of the questions?
If you have any unpaid bills that we might want to tackle, see how we could hopefully get rid of those.
Right.
Okay, so then we have our goals section. And like I said, this is one of my favorites because it does really allow me to get to know you, and depending on how you want to share, I love to hear about people's goals and really see it as my job. It's our job as counselors to help you break those goals down, because you might have a very broad general goal, like I need to save money, or I need to cut spending. So our job as counselors is to help find out, how can we break this down? How can we make this more specific and make sure it's realistic for you? How much money do you want to save? By when? And then when we get into the money, we can actually figure out how to do that. If you want to save $500 in 6 months, then we're going to calculate, okay, how much do you need to save each month? And we're going to look at your income and your expenses and figure out if that is possible, if it makes sense based on what you can afford, because we want to set you up for success. We want to do something that you can actually do. If not, we just may need to modify it, maybe not in 6 months, but maybe in 8 months, or maybe we need to cut a bill out or cut some spending somewhere achieve that goal. And pretty much everything, the way I see it, comes down to two things when it comes to your priorities. How soon do you want it, or so if you were adamant about saving that money within 6 months, we have to modify some other things. If you are adamant about taking a vacation within those 6 months that you've already planned, and that's not something you're willing to change, then that's okay too. Then we just need to modify the other part of that goal, which is the time frame for achieving that savings goal. So
I think one of my favorite moments when I was working with Casmira was I said to her, I'm like, I keep trying to save money, and I had a lot of credit card debt. So my goal was to reduce my credit card debt. But I also wanted to start that emergency fund, because without that emergency fund, you're always at risk of having more credit card debt.
exactly.
And I said, I put $100 a paycheck in my savings account, but then I overspend and then I move it and I never build. And she said, well, why don't you just start with $25? And I thought,
Right?
yeah, mind blown, and because she made it manageable. And now I am having a better savings track, but because I paid off my credit card debt, and now I'm able to manage those emergencies that show up. And do they show up? If it's not a vet bill or a doctor's bill, it's the roof, or, not that my savings account was able to handle the roof, but, life happens. It's amazing how quickly life happens. I like the goal part too. And I especially like, because Audriana and I've been talking, like, I've actually achieved several of my goals.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting, because now I'm like, hey, I get to make new goals.
Yeah, so speaking of that, would you like to share any of your goals, and we can
Yeah.
put them in?
So my number one goal is to not have credit card debt again, ever. Like, if I can live my life with no credit card debt, that would be awesome. I do need to start investing more in my retirement. One of the personal choices I made was to get out of credit card debt. I dipped into my retirement, and that's a big no-no. And now I need to go ahead and replace that. And so I'm paying myself back instead of paying interest on credit card. And then honestly, I've never been to Europe, and I've planned a trip to Europe, and I would like to get to Europe without racking up credit card debt. I want to pay cash for
debt-free trip to Europe. Where in Europe?
So Amsterdam and Germany right now. There's other plans in the future, but if COVID cooperates, we actually have tickets, we're going in November, unless of course we can't, which may happen.
Well, we have to focus on the things that are in our control, right?
Right.
So that's an awesome plan to have. And what you have to do is, and I'm sure you've already started, you've got dates and everything, figure out what's the total cost of the trip, the hard cost that up front, and then also, of course, budget, so you're not racking up the credit card debt, and how much you're going to be spending there. So when it comes to traveling, and I'm sure you are the same, I do a lot of heavy research to figure out, what restaurants might I go to, what's the price range there, so I can know what kind of budget I need to plan for when it comes to eating out, or different activities. Do I need to
stay in what kind of hotel or Airbnb? Do I really need to be at the nicest hotel in the center of town, or is it okay to be at a little more affordable place?
And it's going to depend on what kind of experience you want. Are you there to relax and have a luxury experience in a hotel, or are you going to be out most of the day anyway? So the hotel is not like a huge detail when it comes to how much you want to spend. You want to stretch your money on the actual experience. I usually do a little bit of both. So I might 2 or 3 different places so that I can get that luxury experience, but not stay. So I'm not spending a little fortune on it. And stay somewhere less expensive on the days that I'm going to be out and about. I even will look up if I'm not gonna, have a car rental or something. I will try to look up from my hotel to somewhere I want to go, like how much an Uber or a taxi would be, so I'm prepared for that. So a lot of different things to come into that. And also wanted to touch on the retirement situation. So sometimes it makes sense to dip into your retirement to pay for things, especially if your debt is costing you way more than what you're earning on your investments. And future, now you've saved on all of those expenses, that interest, those fees, so you can take and apply it to your investments even better.
Right.
So really there is like no one size fits all solution. So that's why I love talking through these things, because there are a lot of like different creative solutions we can come up with. So presents, I usually define those as things that are like urgent, very stressful, things that might be keeping you up at night, and getting in the way of these real short-term and long-term that you have.
And
So
I think for my family, medical bills became a big one. We had a lot of medical bills. We also had a lot of unexpected house, a foundation issue, a roof issue. That's not something that I can just pull out of nowhere. And I'll give Home Headquarters a little plug for a minute, because they have some really great programs to help people finance house repairs. Those
and there are some new like funds and programs available now, part of the American Rescue Plan, that have been introduced. So if you are in that situation, definitely reach out and we can see how we can help you at Home Headquarters. But those are 2 biggies, 2 great ones. And of course, if you have like bills that have piled up that's urgent, we want to address that, kind of in a crisis. But also we want to think about, when we get to the money tracker, if these are things that are recurring, we're going to want to consider them when it comes to what we're saving for. It's going to be very likely that this one house repair is taken care of, eventually there's going to be another one, right? And you're never going to stop needing health care. So these are different things that you're going to want to save for and research what kind of resources are, maybe even a better, health insurance plan, or have extra coverage. There's just all types of things. So here's what the money tracker looks like. We would first go over your income. So of course, where pay stub is going to come in handy. We're going to want to use your net income here. And then we have all of these different sources of income to consider. If there was anything else, like if you had a side hustle or you're self-employed, we could add different sources of income too. And then
child support, if somebody gets child support, you'd put that in there
here. And yeah, if you were receiving Social Security, even TA or SNAP, all of that is considered. So then we've got our expenses. So there's a couple, about half of these are probably fixed expenses. So like your rent, your phone bill, your Wi-Fi, you probably know those off the top of your head because they're fixed. They're going to be about the same every month. But then there are other expenses which are considered spending. So household supplies,
going out to dinner is a variable expense, right?
Eating out, yep. And I will point out, because I feel like some a lot of times I ask about eating out and people say, oh yeah, I never eat out. And I'm like, well, of course, everything's been closed. So what about takeout, eat in? And then a lot of people, oh yeah, I do that a lot. So we have to sometimes just think about what everything here can mean. So some of those things are gonna be aren't going to be as easy to come up with. You may not know for sure how much you spend on personal care when you get your hair done, your nails done, your massages, all of your me time expenses. Those are the things we're going to probably want to look through your transaction history. I usually ask clients to do this definitely at least for the past month, but even better if you can go up to 90 days. And I know that can sound overwhelming, but it's really not that hard once you get into habit of doing it. We would go through the past 90 days so we don't have to wait for like days to go by to meet again. And I've sat and done it with some of my clients together, at least for a month. I'll go through your bank statements with you and we'll just make a list, pen and paper, groceries, eating out, shopping, and
wine and beer. I find, wine and beer, eating out.
Alcohol, cigarettes, other, we have that category because there are so many things that, especially if you were just trying to work on a budget or spend on your own, there's a lot of things that you conveniently forget. I like to say your mind plays a lot of tricks on you. So you think about what the major bills are and you write them down, and then you might add a couple of the other things like groceries and eating out. Did you forget about your pets? Did you include your pet care in there? Because that's one we often forget about. And if you do have like copay and other medical expenses, there's a lot of things that we just forget about. So that's one thing I love about the expense sheet. We can get real specific and we can break down and see where money's going. A lot of us don't realize.
I always find, oh my goodness, here's a niece's birthday, or a friend's birthday or something where I'm going to get a gift. Give a gift.
That's a big one.
I never planned for it. Yeah.
That's
and
a big
there's
one.
Christmas, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, the holidays would mess me up too, because me personally, I wouldn't have any family here. I'm from New York City, and I've been in Syracuse for the past like few years. So I would always tell myself, oh, Christmas, I don't make a big deal about it. But then when the time came, I would kind of make a big deal about it.
Right.
If we were just going to friends or families for holiday dinners, there would be things I would contribute and I didn't really plan for it. So it would mess me up. So I had to remember to include those in my budget when I'm planning. So we have this category here, family obligations and gifts. Oh. And that's where we usually include those things. And what I like about it is we choose mode of frequency for all of these categories. So a lot of times I find my clients choosing like quarterly or an annual amount there, because you're not going to have something month, a special occasion, but then again, you might. So some people have money budgets for that too. But the alcohol, cigarettes, and other, it could feel a little awkward sometimes going over that. But again, I want to reiterate, we really, as a counselor, we are not really concerned about what you're spending your money on. We just want to help you see where your money is going. So, if there was anything you didn't even want to disclose, we could add it as a new expense and just put something there and put our amount in, right? And this category too, though, because it does ring bells for people sometimes and jog their memory. People tell me, oh, well, I don't drink or smoke, but every time I go to the gas station, I have to buy a couple of scratch offs. So we have to include that, because that if you do that every couple of days, that is going to add up to quite a bit of change, right? Or even if we use cigarettes as an example, it's not something that you really think of or remember when you're trying to work out your budget on your own, but it's a major part. It adds up to money, right? A sizable amount of money.
Audriana, I think we should move on. We want to do some Q&A. So can we quick through, are there more slide screens you want to show us?
Yep. So just before I move from here, at the bottom here, we're going to see, after we filled all of these numbers out, what your monthly income, monthly expenses are. And then we're going to see, you might be in red, like in this person's case here. So, and that's a huge number. That's a big difference between your income and your expenses. So we're going to want to get to the bottom of that. And that's where your bank statements come in handy too. So you can see, are your numbers off the top of your head very off? How are you doing this? If this is accurate, are you living off of credit cards? How can we address that? Is there unreported income? And again, we don't care about that either. We don't care about your sources of income. It is confidential. We just want to help you manage your money. So then finally, we would go over your credit and debt situation. So there might be some things that won't come up on your credit report, or at least not yet. Like if you were past due on your NIMO bill, we would want to add that so that we keep it in mind when we're looking at your whole picture and we help you address it. And when you do address it and you pay this down, you get credit for it when we're going over all of the goals that you have accomplished. And we would be able to see your credit report. So this one is blank, but we have had Andrea volunteer to go over one of her past credit reports a little bit so we can see what that would look like. So we have Andrea's credit report from 2 Januaries ago, in January 2020. And we can see a little bit about her credit situation. And this is what your credit report would look like when we pull it. We pull from Experian only. So credit utilization at 2.18%. That is quite excellent, I have to say. And really, Andrea's goal is to be debt-free, right? So the lower the utilization, the better, for a lot of reasons. One, your utilization is make 30% of your credit score. So if it's high, that's going to have a negative impact on your credit score. And if it's high, you're also going to have higher payments. So that's going to affect your spending.
Yeah.
The first thing we're going to see is really just a lot of closed accounts. If there's anything closed, that's going to come up first.
And
so
I started closing
accounts.
Once I paid everything off, I started closing accounts, and I closed off my oldest account, and my credit score tanked again because I wasn't thoughtful enough about which accounts I was closing. My tank went down 10 points. It wasn't terrible.
Okay, good. Because that's another, factor that goes into your credit score is your length of credit history. Using an old account, you get rid of all that history. So that does drop your score. Okay, I found an open card. This one, we see, that low utilization, 2%. And the account's in good standing. So if it was charged off or past due, we would see that here. We have 0, 0, 0. Okay, 42% on this one. So this is a line of credit. Now the reason utilization is so high, it's a pretty low limit, right? $500, and the balance.
It's my overdraft on the bank.
Okay, perfect. So right, overdraft line of credit. So this is a great option to have if you don't already, if you find yourself overdrawing your account and it being hit with courtesy pay fees, because those add up very quickly at $30 per transaction. So by having the line of credit, you can avoid fees and just pay a flat interest rate. And if you pay this off every month or every week or whenever you get paid, you won't pay any interest or very little on it. So that is actually a great credit tool to have. This 42% is not affecting you too much because you have so much available credit, but that would drop your credit score a lot. And so one way to kind of fix that would be going to ACM, seeing if they could increase your limit. That might help a little bit. We have an auto loan. So
we're going to be running out of time here, but the lesson I'm getting is you can look at each of these things and determine if it's positive or negative. And if it's negative, the financial counselor can help you come up with some strategies to fix the problem or find a different solution.
Right. Like I don't see anything, negative here. But even if you're doing
really hard at that, I've worked really hard.
And yeah, you're doing so well, you can still learn something, and you might be able to do something even that is more cost effective and help you meet your goals sooner. So that's pretty much what the first session would look like. We would go through those different things. So I suppose do we have time for Q&A?
Yeah, let me just pull up, if you can stop sharing your screen. I'll pull this up again. And I think I'm just going to leave this screen up here during the Q&A because it's got your information on the Financial Empowerment Center. It's got the email, the phone number, and the website. So does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? Either in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Alexis does not have any questions. I'm so glad you came today. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's so scary to start this process, but once you get into it and start to solve some problems, I think it can be really empowering. I mean, it can really feel good. And I think of all the sleepless nights I've had over financial problems, and being able to address some of them has been really, really liberating. And the last 2 unexpected bills I got, I didn't want to dip into my savings, but I could.
Right.
And I think that's great. Dallas, are there any questions on Facebook, or do you have anything?
I was just double checking the comment section, refreshing them, but I don't see a new question.
Great. So I think that's the end of our slideshow today. We really appreciate that everyone came. The video will be on Facebook Live soon. We are going to be doing more Financial Fridays, usually on the first Friday of the month, unless there's like a holiday or something. Topics coming up in the fall. I know we'll be taking a look at open enrollment for health insurance in November. I think we're doing budgeting in October. Don't quote me on that, because we're also trying to roll with the, oh no, we're doing a COVID related, how does COVID impact your financial world? I think Tom Delwo's doing that one for us in October. So stay tuned. And if there's anything you ever want us to provide, feel free to reach out and give us some suggestions, and we'll try and address what people are most interested in. So thanks for coming today, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you all so much.
Audriana, thank you. This was terrific. Really fun. Thanks. All righty. Are we done recording? Oh, we can stop that.